Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving host, Shorty. And today, I'm kind of having to pre-warn everyone to watch this one. I can talk a little bit about the artwork for this comic book and a little bit about the writing without moving just away from a standard comic book review. But the moment I start talking about the plot of this comic book, there is no way I'm going to be able to do it without talking about politics and economics and things like that. It is just going to be one of those things, I'm afraid. If this is going to bug you, if it's not what you come to a comic book review video for, then I totally understand. I'll get a lot of the other stuff out of the way first before I get into it, but a big chunk of the 5 minutes is probably not going to be for you. To start, though, let's talk about this cover, because I love this cover. I love the bold reds on black. I think it looks absolutely amazing. I like the fact that it has a limited color palette, but it uses it so damn effectively. The use of negative space for the clothing looks absolutely superb. It actually tells you a little bit about what's going on in the comic book. I suppose with hindsight, after having read it, I can look back and go, oh yes, that's absolutely fantastic in a variety of different ways. But one of my favorite things about it is the choice to have two individuals, one holding a knife, one holding a fork, but in the hands you wouldn't expect them to hold them in. But if you are holding this comic book and facing towards it as such, fork and knife in those hands is exactly how one would hold them. And it's just a very small, subtle little way of dragging you into the comic book. And I think it is brilliant. Internal art is by a different artist, and it is very different indeed. Even the coloring is slightly different, a little bit flatter, a little bit less pronounced. They do have some nice things. I mean, the varied shading on the sunglasses is absolutely fantastic. But for the most part, I can pick any kind of random page, and you'll see mostly flat. I mean, yes, you've got the nice variety on the coloring there. This is kind of a nice little touch here. Pretty much everyone's wearing white, but they use the lighting to show that in a different way, so the slightly blue will stand out a little bit more. Brilliant touch there. The writing is absolutely brilliant. And it uses a lot of visual storytelling cues to kind of tell you what's going on a little bit. There's a nice early one, which had me stopping and going back a little bit. It's it's a rich gentleman taking his girlfriend to meet the family for the first time in a place called Crestfall Bluffs. Great name, by the way. And you can see the very nice fancy sign there when they're going into the tunnel. On the other side of it, though, you are now leaving, and it looks rotten and scummy and kind of not very well looked after. And here we start talking about politics and economics and classism and all that kind of good stuff, because the story is effectively, think Get Out, but for classes rather than races. It still has a lot of this kind of beats of people trying to fit in, people trying to show a kind of class consciousness in the way that Bradley Whitford's character in Get Out really tries hard to, his character is trying hard to show wokeness, but Bradley Whitford actually does a very good job of acting performative wokeness, which is brilliant. Really, really good performances throughout. It's a similar kind of thing in this, but there's much more, I'm not going to say much more depth to it. It's kind of like spikes of depth into it. You get some moments of just realizing quite how strange everything is. And we do then get into one of my criticisms for it, which is that it has a lot of things which are unnerving and unsettling, happening just a little bit too early for me. Now, and when you get to the end of the first issue, you realize that is kind of how they've had to do it, because the big, unsettling, unnerving that happens at the end, with only 22 pages, you don't have a huge amount of time to build up for that, unfortunately. Thus is the nature of comic books. Frustratingly, I think Boom Studios, because they allow a lot of creator and stuff and give creative control to their creators, I think this could have been the chance to do what Aftershock does, or even Image does, which is for an issue one, throw up the page count. Don't stymie your people. Let them spend that little bit longer to build it up. Because early on, you get the idea of the woman who's here with a rich boyfriend, still wearing a bulldog clip to keep her hair up, trying to insist on carrying her own things, and the help being very, very aggressive about not letting that happen. Then there is the amount of times you see people cleaning in this house, and not just dusting or anything like that, but mops and buckets and water all over the floor. Clearly some other stuff's going on here. Then you just get to the fact there's an entire room that they have just for presents they give out to people. You get that huge class divide kind of thing again. You get the father almost trying to talk to this woman as if they're on the same level, but the guy she's going to, the boyfriend, kind of trying to reassure that it's okay to not be on the same level in a really ham-fisted kind of way. Brilliant little beats all the way through. The ending is, well, it's quick and it's brutal and it's unforgiving. It's not the most surprising ending in the world with a title like Eat the Rich, but it's still very, very effective. I just think for an issue 1, there could have been like a chance to have a little bit more spread of that story. Let it build up a little bit more naturally, give the dialogue a bit more of a chance to spread out and do its kind of thing. But we deal with the medium we're dealing with. That's it for this review. I realized when I went to grab my copy of Eat the Rich, I have not reviewed Killer Queens issue 1, which I've got on my rack over there. So hopefully, if I'm not too busy tomorrow, you might get a bonus review, because that one does look very, very cool indeed. But if not, I'll see you on Tuesday. Look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.